Hey yo YouTube, I'm here to continue talking about my D&D game, The Band of Titans. Where we left off, we were just interacting with the three ogre things that I said last video I was sure Craven was going to pick a fight with. I was 100% wrong. So when we start getting things going, Craven's player says he turns around and comes back to the group, says to Aradina, like, you think we could find another way through through this passage? And then he says that Seville is able to shadow walk, and we could just do that. Um, Aradina's like, well, I didn't come here to fight ogres. There ends up being some kind of confusion between him and the DM because he says that we step aside and do that. Um, Never doing it with his icon. That's probably, if he were to say fault, that's probably what he did wrong. Was he didn't move the icon over. Of course, neither did I. Uh, and so for a second, the DM just assumes we shadow walked where we were. And then, like, right whenever the DM changes maps, like, he repeats himself that we stepped over the side. And he was like, well, you never did that. Or the DM questions him about it. And eventually they just say, all right, you step to the side. Like, for a second, he was going to have us step to the side on the different map. But it was like, what's the point to that? Uh, but like I said, we shadow walked a mile because apparently it's hard to control and stuff like that. Um, Initially, I thought like the ogres were gonna like somehow, because like I asked when we shadow walk, are we invisible? And they said yeah, like no one could see us. Uh, but I thought at first somehow they were gonna know we got past them and run us down, because all we said was that we were regularly traveling after that. But I know he has like Seville fly in the air and kind of scout out the area. And like all the DM says is that like he sees like a band of ogres behind us. Travel for some time and eventually the DM, well, at first the DM sends me a message saying that asking for Hellfire to do a scent check, and she ends up smelling Smite and rejoins the party. I was kind of hoping that whatever we got into, Hellfire wouldn't be around before then, or wouldn't have joined us yet, but that wasn't the case. But the DM ends up having us make camp, or we decide to make camp. Uh, has us go over what the watch order is, and then like second watch ends up being Craven, and I think Craven has his character really high on the map, so like the DM asked initially because of where we're sitting, he has Hellfire and Smite. What is their AC? And like Hellfire wakes up and sees that there's like a javelin next to her. And as whatever the DM sets this up, he puts Fog of War on almost everything. Like all we can see is this strip. Eventually, we start coming out and seeing the rest of the map, and ends up in the end it ends up being six of the ogres. One thing was funny was like Craven's player was like was, hey, look at the pics. Those are the same pics as the ones that we ran into back there. Like, we try to avoid the fight, but we never can. He said something like that. And the DM was just like, you can't tell it was the same ones by looking at the pic. Um, but the DM ends up saying that, like, for the most part, we had to fight this fight. If we avoided this, he would have had to do some stuff because he didn't have enough for the night without that. But the DM tells us to roll initiative and all that good stuff. Pretty much, it's just the ogres on the bottom of the map. Like, there's a road because we're like camping off the road, and pretty much just coming down and attacking them. Uh, the ogres ended up having like 32 AC, I think. So so there was a like I remember Craven particularly like the first round, one of the first rounds, like he missed every attack, which never happens with him. And I know both with Basker and with Smite, I did like run in power attack, and occasion with each of those characters I missed because of the power attack 10. Besides us fighting large creatures and them hitting pretty hard and having a good AC, really the only thing that stood out in the fight was near the end, Craven got a critical hit and ended up like chopping one of their legs off by the hip. Uh, and Craven also got the last kill. Then we searched the bodies and all that good stuff. I say Hellfighter starts eating some ogre. Um, Seville says that she polymorphs them into rabbits and like throws them off to the side. If I thought about it, I would have had Hellfire just eat the rabbits. But I didn't think about that until I want to say the campaign was already over. The next morning, we end up traveling several hours and eventually come upon the city or fortress or whatever it is. Um, when we come closer, there's some kind of standing guards. If I remember right, they're riflemen. Um, I know once when we get inside, the soldiers seem to be a mixture of Northmen and like riflemen that kind of have those like triangle pirate hats. But the guardsmen like ask our business here. Like Craven's player asked like, what was the because whenever Hellfire rejoined the group, she tells them that, or she tells Smite, and then Smite tells Eridina that that she made contact with an emissary to the Queen, and she's waiting for our audience when we get there. So when we get there, he was like, "What was the name of the emissary?" And the DM's like, "You never found out." Which is true. We it never got asked whenever Hellfire talked to him. But he kind of says like, "We're here to speak to the Queen," or something like the Queen's waiting for us. They start speaking, and I tried saying remembering this. I told y'all that I didn't remember it a few weeks ago, where it sounded like Czechoslovakia, but it's Czechoslovakian, and I'm pretty sure I'm still saying it wrong, but that's closer to what I had last time. But more or less, it sounds like Russian. It's this part of the world are people who speak that in our world tend to be like Russians. Like I said, there's a few other races we have like that. Like there's one race that we know is Irish, and another one that's like English. Um, but we get permission to walk through the city, and like I said, that's when we see there seems to be two different types of people. We do see before we got there were like big banners with like a golden lion. They lead us to a castle. We walk through a couple like we walk through a hall, through like a chamber, a few other things, and eventually we get to like a state throne room. When we get there, whenever Maravik sees them, which by the way, one of the whenever I rewatched the video I made last week, I said Iridina was saying a few things where I'm pretty sure it was Maravik the Bard. But when Maravik sees the Queen and sees the two people standing next to her, one of them is the person Hellfire met. She like puts her hand over her mouth. Like the DM waits to see if any of us is saying anything, and this is Smite's pretty much first time in a campaign or a full out campaign with this party. He's been in a few battles, but that's it. And so for the most part, I'm keeping him quiet. I'm keeping him just watching, and Craven's player doesn't say anything. So we're sitting there for a little bit, but then I'm kind of like, well, Smite does kind of have a relation with Maravik because she's the one that always goes with them whenever he's trying to spread his religion. Like she wrote, because like he had her write a holy book for him for his sect, but he asked like, "Do you notice them?" And she says in her world she looks just like the Arch Princess Anastasia Rolnoff, and that the man to the left of her looks like Rasputin, and how they were the imperial family to the Russian Empire. And I'm pretty sure I said those names wrong too, or at least the princess's one. And she talks about how the family was assassinated and how uh, Anastasia was killed when she was 14. But it's rumors that she's still alive. And then she talks about the whole Rasputin thing where he was what was it? Killed, poisoned, hanged, something like that. Poisoning, gunfire, drowning. But once when the princess starts or the queen starts talking, uh, Craven more or less takes over. She like asks why we're here, and Craven pretty much just says that we're here because of prophecy, find the witch, save the multiverse. The princess or Anastasia is just like, I've never heard that. I don't know what that means. Um, and it's another one of those where he just kind of repeats himself a few times. Eventually, he does say that there's a member in our party particularly looking for we're looking for a certain witch, but we don't really know much about it, and that's really our only main lead. And since there's witches here, we'll come here. Like Anastasia pretty much just like says that like it just seems like a little kid's lullaby, like she sees no importance in it. Um, she does say like apparently my that Rasputin here thinks that do have some use, and she says that like he'll meet with you in like an hour. So like we end up going to a waiting room. At the time, she calls him the Chandler. I don't think we get his name until later, or confirm that that was his name. I want to say while we're waiting around, Maravik gives us a general history lesson of Rasputin and Anastasia. And then like 90 minutes go by and he shows up. Uh, Craven says he pretty much tells him our whole story. And I want to say it gets asked again if we think that the person we're looking for and the person in the prophecy are the same person. Maravik thinks that it is, and Eridina says she doesn't know. And Rasputin says that he has seen other parties show up, and they've always dismissed them. The only difference between us and other ones is that we've came from Mistra. Uh, and tells us that he has a mission they could give us that will balance out what the Vamiamos and the witches are doing. He thinks that on this mission we might be able to find out more, and that there's someone that we'll meet on this mission that should be able to tell us more or will know more. Well, he ends up telling us that him and the queen are from Earth Realm, and whenever the Rolanov family got executed, he pretty much teleported her to like alternate universe. Um, he says he like put her through like some kind of amber cocoon, and it was healing her body. And it gets told to us that there's certain family bloodlines that have the bloodline of Baba Yaga. It doesn't show up in everybody, but like a certain few. And Anastasia seemed like to be the best candidate. And what she is apparently is called Witchkin. And he tells us about how the kingdom of Arisen was founded by Baba Yaga. He tells us that every 100 years Baba Yaga goes in and removes the current queen and puts in a new one. He says that every now and then that someone will rebel and not want to let their throne go. Apparently, the queen before this current one, she did that, and she was actually powerful enough to hold her own against Baba Yaga. Also, any of the queens that get picked are part of her bloodline. Again, she rebelled vigorously. Rasputin tells us that he gathered up a party, and apparently they aided the Baba Yaga to help overthrow her, or not overthrow her, but overthrow the former queen. And as a reward, I guess he was able. he asked if Anastasia would become the next queen. And whenever she removes them, apparently she takes them to her dancing hut. But since Anastasia was part of in the Amber encasing, she couldn't lead, so they put in a new regent. Um, and on top of that, even if she was out of it, she was only 14. Uh, Eventually, she did get out, but it seemed like the queen was no rush to bring her into the kingdom because Baba Yaga wasn't there to do anything. Apparently, that world got invaded. Her world was attacked by the Vabiamos, some kind of parasitic entity. Usually go from world to world, getting resources just to invade the next world. And they figured this would kill her off, but like I said, she became a revolutionary and ended up forting the invaders. And then I guess the region ended up dying from natural causes. And then when that happened, the ice witches did come and bring her to become queen. Whenever she became queen, apparently she went through the multiverses to build her army. Uh, but her not being a winter witch, she ended up changing laws. Like she ended up freeing slaves, pretty much making more of a democracy. But it's only in this city and like the near Providence. Um, Eventually, some kind of fiend witch ends up entering this world, and she tries to overthrow her. I think she also has the Vominos or whatever they're called with her too. She's a servant of the devil witch Malagar. And yeah, she did ally herself with the Viamos. I think it says that they control a bunch of creatures. I want to say that orcs, even. I want to say even some of the demi humans. But I guess they have two different big servants, which are the Watchers and the Unstables. The synthetics are some kind of like bionic humans. I want to say to a point they're not too different from golems. And the Watchers are human gray hybrids. Um, Apparently, the Viamos can only go to certain worlds, but I guess these two types can go anywhere. That's why they use them so much. And I want to see even these two are unwilling servants. I'm not 100% though. And Queen Anastasia, her problem is that if she goes and attacks the forces, she knows the White Witches are going to come and take her castle. And they tell us the only way her forces will be good enough is if the Dragon Lords join them. The Dragon Lords apparently used to rule this castle before Baba Yaga took over. And they tell us the only way the Dragon Lords would join us is if Anastasia married a Dragon Lord. But they tell us out of the four Dragon Lords, none of them have a suitable heir. None of them have a suitable suitor. Like the most powerful one has a couple sons, but they're either already married or too young. One of the bloodlines or one of the suitors is named Lockhart, and again, his heirs are too old or too young, or already married or too young, but his brother, I guess one of his sons, fits the criteria. A young warrior who's skilled and has quick wit, named Luther Lockhart. But apparently, since he's so far down in the thing, he's just an adventurer. And right now, he's in Mistra, or in an alternate Mistra. But us being from a Mistra in any form, he thinks that we could help them and we could go and try and be emissary and try to convince him to marry the queen. They know where he is, but he is aloof. They think, I guess, the White Witches or somebody. I didn't really catch who. Also got wind, so they might try to assassinate him. And he says that on that side, the Winter Witches haven't been gave us aid, but the Hags are a different faction, and they might. Hag named Jezzy Baba might know the information we know or need to know whether or not it's who the witch is or if the witch and the prophecy are the same person. Also a descendant of Baba Yaga. Apparently, we're going to have to go through multiple vortexes to get to this one. He says that Anastasia can open a Morbius continuum, which is an opening of the veils that can allow her to tear fabrics in the other world that's in any elliptical that's on the same as this one. And she says when she opens it, she'll keep it partially open so we could find our way back. I know Smite ends up asking, I hear that there's a vortex that leads to Feyru. When all of this is said and done, do you know how to find it? I would like to go there. And he's like, well, so you're agreeing? And he's like, well, he says, yes, I will. He says that he doesn't know where it is, but he has means where he could get to it, and he could take us there whenever we're done. And pretty much that's where we end up wrapping up. I haven't mentioned this, but because like I took Hyde out of the last few sessions because I made it where Hyde was going to go scout out the Southlands, the spot I've been talking about conquering. Initially, that's all I was going to do was just say him and some bugbears go and look. Maybe he could come back with some gold or something. Since he's a cohort, I figured he wouldn't get experience for the most part. But since Earth player hasn't been around and we haven't been able to really like link up a good day with them, I was like, well, maybe it'll be easier if went with him. And then it was like, hey, why don't me and Earth player just get together with you sometime and we could actually play that stuff out. And we actually knocked out a session the other night. So I'm probably going to record that video either here in a little bit or later on tonight. So look forward to seeing that. And you want to know about us going through this vortex and future predictions on going through the vortex? I don't know, to be honest with you. Even if we're going to go right to the next Mistra, because he said we have to bounce around vortexes, it might end up being like Brotherhood of the Lion for a while, where we're just going through door to door. You want to find out, check out my next video. You want to know the whole story, check out all my videos, and check you later.